Hey guys, this is Shadow, and I want to introduce to you something a little different. It still fits in with what I want this channel to mainly be about, which is fantasy storytelling. But this is an app that I had gotten into quite a while ago and forgotten about, and just recently started to read from again. It's free on Google Play, and there is the option to it's like pretty cheap, I think like $5 to unlock the full collection of stories held within. But even without doing that, there's a vast amount of stories available for free. The name of this app, which I'll pop up on the screen in a moment, is Dungeons and Decisions. And it's basically a choose your own adventure type story experience. It doesn't have multiple far-reaching endings. More so, you can choose the route by which you get to the ending. There are different consequences and resources that you generally see change immediately in consequence to your choices, and you'll see that in a moment when we go into the story. I just want to take a quick scroll through the app here and show how many stories are available. It's actually, for some reason, only showing that I've completed Zombie High 1. And for convenience, I actually was recording a video for you guys of me reading Zombie High 2. And while that was pretty fun, and I'll probably do that again in my own time, you only see it cleared out because I erased my progress. But yeah, I'll probably do that on my own time. I didn't feel like it was the best first introduction to this app. So I'm actually going to be reading one of my favorites from this collection, which is the Wizard's Choice series. It's got a good balance of humor and action and nice verbiage, I should say. I like the way that it is paced. I did actually, I'm not sure if I completed it, but I did actually get pretty far in Wizard's Choice. So I'm not really sure why the app isn't reflecting that, but it's fine because we'll just rebuild all those choices again as I go through it now. I did read just book 1 of Rogue's Choice, and it was pretty fun. And I also completed the Demon's Choice entirely, and I love this one. This is probably my favorite, even over Wizard's Choice. And I will be reading the book 1 of Demon's Choice probably, but I need to scan through it again first. I believe that this one was pretty mature, and I'm not sure exactly how friendly it would be to the YouTube environment. That being said, let's go ahead and hop on into Wizard's Choice 1. Also, just to be clear, I plan on only reading the first book in most of these series. If any of these stories get a lot of traction and a lot of attention and you guys want me to read more, then I'll definitely consider coming back to it and reading more from that story. Otherwise, if I don't read on from a book that you enjoy, feel free to actually look it up in the Google Play Store and try it out for yourself. If I can, I'll try to link the app in the description, but I'm not sure if we're allowed to do that anymore. So again, I popped up on the screen before with the name of the app and the icon, and hopefully you can find it with that. So now that I've opened up this story, Wizard's Choice, you can see at the top here we have a different resources and metrics. We have a life meter, we've got a mana meter, we've got gold and morale. Life is pretty obvious. As you go through the story, you're going to be making certain choices that could cause you to come into harm. And if you do, your life meter will go down. And if that reaches 0, then you will get a death scene. It'll always be relevant to where you are. So it doesn't just say like, boom, you die. It's pretty descriptive. Mana is also the same idea. There are spells that you will learn throughout the story, and as you continue, you can learn more spells than what you start with, but those spells all cost mana. Not all. You'll see that as we go. There are a couple that you can do on the fly, but if we run out of mana, those choices become grayed out. So while the choice is always available and other people's story may not look like your own path, based on the choices you make before, and whether you use a spell or decide to be sneaky or talk your way out of something, that can affect whether you have the mana or the life points to get into that fight later, or use an invisibility spell to sneak away, or whatever, use a fireball to end the fight, Gold, same deal. You might be able to bribe certain people, you might be able to buy certain things in the story, and if you don't have gold, you wouldn't be able to do that. I don't really think we need any further explanation. There aren't many visuals that'll be happening on the screen, so as with all of the videos I make on this channel, I welcome you to close your eyes or continue washing dishes and just listen to me in the background as I begin to read you this story. Alright. You are a young wizard seeking treasure and glory. You are walking along a path in the forest, one day's journey from Ring City, your beloved home. Night has just fallen, and you're thinking about how it might be a good idea to find a campsite. After all, you're in goblin territory, and it's dangerous to travel in the dark. Suddenly, you smell something awful. Reginald, are you responsible for that outrageous smell? You ask the warrior striding ahead of you. Pray no. I am always downwind from my companions when I squeeze the bellows, Reginald answers. You realize that you have never encountered this stench before, and it is close, and perhaps it's your imagination. But is that muffled breathing you just heard? What do you do? Our options are to shout a warning to Reginald, dive flat on your face, hide, or stop and listen. So this is what I'm thinking when I read this. Shout a warning to Reginald. It seems pretty surface level at first. You let him know, hey, I think there might be someone following us. But then the second option, dive flat on your face, makes me think that it's possible something's about to urgently happen. And if I don't shout a warning to Reginald, he may suffer the consequences that I dodge. Then that makes me think that shouting a warning to Reginald will cause both of us to survive this oncoming threat, while diving flat on my face will only allow me to avoid damage. Hide. I imagine if someone's been following us, muffled breathing would suggest that they're trying to hide their breathing. I'm pretty sure they're already aware of us, so hiding wouldn't really help. Stop and listen. Sure, we could hear what's happening to be more clear on what's following us, but Here's the thing. The worst that could happen if I die flat on my face or shout a warning to Reginald is that we embarrass ourselves. If there's no threat. But stopping to listen, and there is a threat following us. Especially if it's something like immediate, a spear or disc being thrown at us. That might not be helpful. Alright, so I'm just going to proceed forth, and I'm going to choose to stop and listen to get more information about what's happening around us. If this leads to a spear slamming into my ear, then I suppose you will see another system in place in this app. Stop and listen. An achievement unlocked. So, this is another feature that I want to point out. These achievements are not guaranteed for every choice. You have to find these achievements. So this was actually pretty lucky that we found this one. Certain times you make certain choices that the writer thought was worth rewarding, because it may have been either a less obvious choice or sometimes just a less likely choice, something that maybe a contrarian would do. And so these achievements will give you extra luck, which is something you can use to undo a previous choice, so you can choose better if you didn't like the consequences. And it gives you points towards the end of your chapter, and those points are pretty much just like a performance score, and those also contribute to giving you more luck. I don't think there was any other benefit to getting a different score levels other than bragging rights. I suppose that you completed the chapter at the best possible position. You may see that when we finish this chapter. I believe it's at the end of each book. But for now, clever move. You're a tricky one. So I guess it was very good that we stopped to listen instead of making any hasty choices. Alright, well, I'm glad to hear that. Okay. Nice work. You have achieved 14% of the points possible in the Wizard's Choice series. Feedback so far, at least you have done something. However, this software is unimpressed. So we got 1 point for doing that. We've gotten 14% of the points possible in the Wizard series. So I guess in the entire series we're only able to get, was that 8? Yeah, 8 points. Interesting. Okay. So our mana decreases by 2 and our morale increases by 2. So immediately when we make a choice, we'll see the consequences of the choice up here at the top. But as you read, you'll actually see the context of those consequences played out in that page. So like I said, your choices, the consequences are immediate. It's not something you're going to have to see far down the line, although there are some cases where your actions will have consequences down the line, but you'll always at least be somewhat aware of it immediately. No need to panic. No need to panic yet, you think. You grab Reginald by the shoulder and gesture for him to be quiet. The two of you stand motionless for a few long seconds before you hear a low wheezing sort of breathing. Reginald must have heard it too, because he raises his sword defensively. A series of snorts is followed by several goblins with green-tinted skin charging out of hiding toward you. With an arcane word and a flourish of one hand, you fire a bolt of flame at the leader of the charge. Oh, yeah, there's a visual. That's cool. Your bolt strikes the goblin, engulfing it in flames. It drops to the ground, thrashing. Reginald hacks down another with his sword. The remaining 3 run away, whooping and yipping. Soon their cries are joined by others from the dark forest all around you. Many calls from far too many goblins to fight toe-to-toe. It is a hunting party tracking wild game, I wager. Human is a delicacy, much better than mutton, Reginald says. You regard the 2 dead goblins on the ground. Dead goblins are worth 10 gold pieces per head in the city. Luckily, you don't need to carry their heads around. The city authorities will accept their left ears. What do you do? Cut the ears off? No, I'm not gonna just run. Gold increases by 10. Get the ears! Get the ears! You exclaim as you pull out your razor-sharp dagger from your belt. For a second, your sometimes slow-witted warrior sidekick doesn't understand. But as you start sawing away at the first ear, he gets the idea and fishes out his own dagger. Soon you have a bloody goblin ear stuffed in your pocket, and Reginald has one of his own. Nasty? Very. However, 10 gold pieces are nearly 6 months of wages to a common laborer, so you're willing to take the hit. What now? Reginald asks. Certainly there are excellent places to hide in the forest, if we can just make it until morning. True. However, the goblins may have dogs, and their own sense of smell is keen, you say. We might climb a tree then. That would at least be defensible, Reginald suggests. You wish to be treed like a fox with goblins barking underneath. If you wish a position that is both defensible and allows some freedom of movement, we should hasten to Castle Inverness. It is near, and we could fortify ourselves behind those walls, Reginald says. You frown. It is a fortress, yes, but inhabited by what? Gods know what manner of creatures may have taken up residence in that ruin over the years. And so now we have our next choice. Hide in the forest, garrison in the ruin walls, or climb a large tree. Okay, well, immediately we're gonna cross out climbing a large tree. That would be the dumbest thing to do if we're trying to hide, is to put ourselves in a position that we can't flee from. Hiding in the forest is quick, probably simple, and no more dangerous than where we already are. But to go to that ruin, potentially, we could just have the ruin all to ourselves if we're able to barricade it well enough and it's empty. But if something else has already had that idea, and then we encounter like 2 black bears in there, I don't know how much my mana is going to hold up. So it's kind of a high risk, high reward type of situation. Hiding in the forest is the safe choice, I think. Climbing the large tree is a no choice. And garrison in the ruined walls is the fun choice, so I'm going to go with that. Let us take refuge behind the stone walls of Castle Inverness, you say. Goblin hunting calls echo from all around in the forest as the two of you dash up the path 100 meters or so, where you find a fork in the road. The path to the right appears to be seldom used since it is nearly overgrown. The path to the left is clear, and you think you see firelight down that way. Could this firelight belong to the goblins? Or, if you're lucky, is it the campfire of another friendly adventuring party? What do you do? Castle? Never question a wizard. Or investigate the fire? Well, we don't need anyone else, so there's no reason to look for help. We can do just fine if we just find a place to barricade. So no, I believe we're going to continue on to the castle. Besides, as it says, never question a wizard. Morale increases by 1. Enough foolishness! To Castle Inverness and her blessed walls, you proclaim. Reginald raises his fist. Yes, may their puny bodies break against our stone defenses. After a minute of stumbling down what is best described as a game trail, you see the shadowy husk of the ruin in the moonlight ahead. Unfortunately, the battle cries of your pursuers are closer than ever, and when you look back over your shoulder, you see glowing eyes. The two of you turn on a burst of speed, and soon the outer wall of the castle looms before you. It is about 10 feet high and crumbling. You realize with horror that there are no holes on this side that are large enough to fit through. Meanwhile, Reginald, a faster runner than yourself, has disappeared around the north corner of the wall. A short spear whistles past your head. You look back and see at least 4 of the little beasts. Ooh. What do you do? Okay, the next current choice is to follow Reginald, jump the wall spell, or turn and blast them. I do know from experience reading ahead before that blasting them will work because our fireball spell can cover a pretty wide area. And there's 4 of them and they're pretty tightly grouped because of the path they're on. That's 4 mana. We still don't know what's inside these ruins. And jumping the wall is good enough. I don't need to fight them if the wall is secure, which is the reason I need to jump it. I can't follow Reginald. I feel like I'd get stuck, left behind. I mean, I guess if I jump, he might get left behind, because I don't know what's around that corner actually. But if I'm already inside, I could probably open some way for him. Okay, and this is one of those cases where, as decisive as I can be, I kind of wish I could extend to you the option to offer me a choice. I definitely don't want to turn and blast them, because I believe I did that last time I played. I feel like following Reginald, we should stick together. Man, forgive me, Reginald. I'm going to jump the wall. Mana decreases by 1. You stay on your course toward the wall, and with an arcane word, you leap into the air. Up you go, like a giant grasshopper, over the top. You've made it. But now you're falling down into the castle courtyard. You hit the ground hard, but you roll with it. Fortunately, the neglected courtyard grass is nearly as tall as you are and acts as a cushion. There's a ladder nearby that you climb to get up to the battlements. In a few seconds, there are several goblins at the base of the wall, chattering angrily. The largest of them begins climbing up the rotten rock, and another starts climbing after the leader. You decide this is a good place to take a stand. There is a lot of loose rock at the top of the wall. You're not particularly strong thanks to your inactive life as a wizard. However, you expect you could push a few large rocks down upon this climber. On the other hand, they are all out in the open, and your combat spells would certainly be effective now. What do you do? Push rocks down on the lead climber? Just fry the leader? Or fry them all? Well, I've noticed before that we saw the goblins are pretty cowardly. If I just fry the lead climber, the rest probably will be afraid to follow. And while I do have enough mana to back up the threat, I'm hoping I won't have to use it if they all run away. Let me just say, I don't want to push rocks down on the lead climber because I feel like the rocks I'm pushing is really just refuse and rubble from the wall itself. And if I push a few rocks that are big enough to knock someone off, I worry that they're going to encourage a collapse of the wall itself. So no, we're going to just fry the lead climber. Alright, mana decreases by 2. Morale decreases by 1. You lean down and call forth the magical power within you. From your outstretched fingers erupts a single jet of flame that blasts the lead climber. As the smoke clears, you see he is no more than a smoldering corpse on the ground. The other climber jumps off of the wall to join his companions at the base of the wall. The goblins scream in rage and back off. Suddenly, you feel the battlement boards below you shake to the unmistakable rhythm of footfalls. Gods, they got behind me, you think. Charging along the runway is the shadow of a tall man carrying something. A bow. Reginald, you sigh in relief. He must have found another way in. Reginald leans over the wall and, seemingly without even aiming, lets loose an arrow. One of the little devils below falls to the ground, squirming with an arrow in his chest. The others scatter back toward the forest. With their eyes turned away, they make difficult targets in the scant moonlight. Nevertheless, your friend takes one more down before the others make the safety of the woods. We have struck terror into their advance party, but they will call for reinforcements. We have the wall. Can we hold it? Reginald asks. We could go in. You point to the castle keep beyond the courtyard. The castle is 3 stories tall, or at least it had been before the top layer partially collapsed. The second story is barely any better. The fortress is as lifeless and still as a painting. Still, you wonder if anyone is looking back at you from the dark windows and arrow slits of the ruin. What do you suggest? Prepare a wall defense or enter the castle now. We're going to enter the castle regardless, but if there's any way we can shore up these walls, that was our initial plan in the first place. just to get behind walls. We can even camp out here if we want. I'm sure we're going to go into the castle eventually, so we'll prepare a wall defense. God knows what's in that castle. Let us fight only one enemy at a time, you say. Soon the forest around you is dotted with glowing sets of eyes. Wait, did they go back to get help? I thought they'd just run and leave us alone. Jeez. Okay. It is difficult to count them as they appear and disappear behind trees, but you guess 20 or more. Surely they will attack from all sides at once, says Reginald. And they can see at night like we can see in the day. You consider the long, dry grass of the courtyard below. With some lamp oil, you could start a fine brush fire down there. The light of it could perhaps even the odds on these nocturnal creatures. You could even cast a spell upon the fire to create a blinding flash, but you are not sure you want to leave the wall to carry out such an unconventional plan. They may attack while you are away, leaving only Reginald to defend the walls. You wonder how long the goblins will take to muster their forces. Your question is immediately answered as you hear a battle cry, high-pitched, furious, and seemingly on the edge of panic. It erupts from the forest as a tide of little green evil eyes surge forward. What do you do? Blast them, costing 4 mana. Run for the castle, or set the courtyard on fire, costing 2 mana. No, if I can see them, I shoot them. And look, throwing fire on their side is going to allow us to see plenty, so Reginald can start shooting his arrows. We've already seen how good he is. We don't need any special theatrics. Let's just blast them all. Mana decreases by 4. Morale increases by 4. Gods help us, they come from all sides, you shout. Reginald does not answer as he works his bow. Thoom, thoom, goes the string. You run from wall to wall, burning the goblins with your spells as they struggle to climb up. Their burning corpses provide good light for Reginald to shoot other goblins nearby. That's exactly what I was thinking. There we go. You smile to yourself. You're really on a roll. Gods, I hate goblins, you think. Unfortunately, the two of you cannot be everywhere at once. And soon, several of the goblins have scaled the far wall. 2 have dropped down into the courtyard, while another charges upon the rickety battlement walkway toward you. Others are already scuttling over the walls of cockroaches. To the castle, you shout. Once across the courtyard, you open the large wooden double doors, which shriek on rusty hinges. Inside, Reginald slams and bars the doors. The entrance chamber is large, with a high vaulted ceiling. The stone walls are cracked and flaking. The ground is strewn with loose rubble. The air is stale. Aside from the double doors behind you, there are closed wooden doors on the north, east, and west walls. Near the north door, there is a stairway going up, but it is blocked by rubble. It is not long before the front doors begin to rattle violently. Through a nearby arrow slit, you can see glowing eyes and the glint of axes chopping away at the door. You're not sure how long the barred portal will hold them. Reginald wants to hide deeper in the castle. On the other hand, this place smells of death. It might be prudent to take a few seconds to investigate the room and doors. What do you do now? Let's go deeper, or search the room and doors. Well, we're going to go deeper anyway, so surely we should search for any extra supplies, gold, enemies. We have enemies at the door. We can't change that. We definitely should make a search before we proceed any deeper. You motion to Reginald to check the east door. You inspect the ground and see there has been traffic through here. Some of the tracks on the dusty floor appear to be from human-sized shoes or boots, while others appear to be from bare feet, far too large to be from men. None of the tracks appear to belong to goblins. Listening, you can't hear anything over the goblins thumping and screaming outside. You direct the light of your lantern at the northern door and are about to turn toward the eastern door when something catches your attention. Was that an eye? You wonder. You think you caught a glimpse of a glistening eyeball through a rotting hole in the northern door. Casually, as though just taking another look around, you sweep your lantern light over the door again, pausing just for an instant at that spot. Yes, that was an eye. You're being watched, and although your glimpse of it was fleeting, you could tell the eye did not belong to a human. The white of the orb is pink with blood, although the retina is pitch black and large. You would like to get a better look at the creature. There is a minor spell you normally use to magically open doors from a distance. You find it tedious opening doors yourself. As long as the door is unlocked, you could use this lazy wizard spell to open the eye door without being too close. On the other hand, that may frighten or anger whomever that eye belongs to. Perhaps you should just talk to it. Maybe you can join forces against the goblins. Alternatively, you might be able to hurl a bolt of fire through that eye hole. Not an easy shot, but you have the element of surprise. Finally, there's the running option, a choice that has been keeping wizards alive for thousands of years. Tried and true, huh? What do you do? Okay, that feels easy to me. I definitely do not want to shoot the eye hole. I don't know what's on the other side, but why would I just automatically antagonize it? It's only watching us. It's probably been living here itself, and it's suddenly have these intruders in its home. I'm not going to shoot someone because I came into their home. I agree, I don't want to just fling the door open because that could scare it, and in scaring it, force it to attack because it feels backed in a corner or threatened. I'd rather talk to it to see if it could be an ally, and if it doesn't want to ally with us, I could at least comfort it in knowing that we're not there to hurt it. We just need shelter. Run. Where would we run? Can't go upstairs. Can't go outside. I guess we just run into one of the other rooms. But no, I'm going to choose to talk to the creature. And this actually came up in the other story that I had started recording for you guys. That I do tend to try to be more compassionate rather than combat focused, or at least it's not my first choice. But we'll see how long I hold on to that mentality as I get tested in this story. But for now, we're going to talk to the creature. Hey, I got an achievement for a diplomat. Just talking can often get you what you want. Language, even a greater invention than fire? I would say so. Luck. So I got 2 luck and 1 more point. You muster your courage, face the door, and raise your voice to be heard over the pounding and shouting of the goblins. We mean you no harm. We wish only to... Crack. The door explodes open. The light of your lantern streams into the doorway to reveal a huge, muscled monster stooping over. He holds a massive spiked club in one hand and a melon-sized rock in the other. He steps into the room. Neville's tongue, it's an ogre, Reginald curses. Although you have never seen one before, the tales of ogres claim them to have a bad temper, evil nature, and propensity for violence. What do you do? The options: smile and say greetings and salutations. Motion to the doors and say, goblins are disrespecting your property. Retreat out another door. Or here's a spicy one. Open the front doors. Okay, now I want the ogre to help us fight the goblins. But talking has already, seems like it flipped out. It was just watching us as long as we didn't know it was there. But once I spoke up and it knew that I knew it was there, then it just dropped all pretenses and burst into the room with weapons at hand. Okay. So I don't want to just smile and say crazy salutations. Because I'm feeling like, while I got an achievement for talking, I feel like talking is not going to work here. While I got an achievement for talking, I feel like talking is not going to work here. So we can motion to the doors. No, we're here in front of it. He's gonna, if he's violent, like the legends say, there could be lots. If he's violent, then he's just gonna come at us first and then deal with the goblins. But we could make it so he has to deal with the goblins now. But how many are outside? Oh man, that is a spicy choice. I feel like that would be chaos, and I'm really, really curious about it. Retreat out another door. I really want to open the front doors because that seems wild to me. That's wild. Alright, we are going to open the front doors. Morale increases 2, mana decreases 1. You yell at Reginald to follow you and lead him toward the eastern door. As you go, you cast a minor spell, knocking the bolt from the braces of the front double doors. Like a tidal wave crashing on the beach, a heap of goblins falls into the room. Creatures, one on top of another. A chorus of glee erupts from their fanged mouths. Arrows and spears fly over and between the goblins in front, hitting a few of them. Meanwhile, the ogre roars in rage, throwing his rock at the first goblin, striking it in the chest with such a nasty, crunching sound that you know the goblin will never get up. Reginald and you nearly collide in your haste through the eastern portal. You hope there is no ogre waiting behind this door too. Once through, you slam the door closed. From the entrance chamber you just left, you hear goblin yips of triumph turn into screams of terror, which are immediately drowned out by an earth-shaking snarl. Next, you hear the sharp slapping of flesh against flesh and the wet sound of bodies ripping apart. A fine way to handle a horde of goblins, you think. Despite your desperate situation, you smile to yourself as you run. You run from one room to the next, getting as far away as you can from that ogre, or whatever it is. It's not much of a housekeeper, anyhow. The castle is full of giant cobwebs and broken furniture. Finally, you enter a larger room, a dining room, as evidenced by a long wooden table and 2 fireplaces. You motion to Reginald to stop, and you both listen. Faintly, you can hear the far-off sounds of battle from behind you. Can't leave that way, you think. Of course, do you really want to leave anyway? There may be treasure about. Your steps slow to a crawl as you try to make up your mind what to do. Just then, you hear something else. Labored breathing. And is that crying? What do you do? Okay. Once again, a little meta, but I remember this. There's a kid here. And so while in real life, I personally would never do the foolishness that I'm about to embark upon. I would always run. In this instance, and honestly, I guess, how did I find this out? If I didn't, unless I didn't run the first time, right? Which kind of spits in the face of what I just said. But in real life, I would always run. But in this case, I'm going to investigate the sound. Morale increases by 1. For glory and the loot, you think to yourself as you take the lead. You quickly realize that the sound seems to be coming from this very room. You creep over to the other end of the dining hall and see a young woman sitting on the floor, chained to the wall, her head down. She looks up at you with an expression of fear that quickly turns to surprise. Who are you? She asks. You tell her your names, and that you are here to smite evil while making your fortunes. Oh, okay, guys. Okay. This brings a smile to her face. A pretty smile, you suspect, although it's hard to tell under all the dirt smudged on her face. She gives her name as Siba and says there is a key to her chains on the table. Sure enough, beside cracked and dusty china is a small brass key. As you set about unlocking her, she tells you that she is a merchant's daughter who was traveling with her father's trade caravan when it was attacked by a mighty ogre with a small band of priests of an evil god wearing dark cloaks. Those of her party not killed in the initial attack were taken prisoner and chained up in this room. One by one, they were taken away by the priests, never to return. "They took my father," Ziba sniffs. "No doubt he is slain, but I must try to find him. Will you help me?" You ask her if she has any idea where her father or the others might be, but she knows little of the rest of the castle. Reginald takes you aside and says, "Ought we to take her to safety and then look for her father on our own? She will be in danger traveling with us." You agree that having some half-starved, unarmed merchant's daughter tripping along behind you will only get her killed. But where is safety? Last time you checked, the courtyard was crawling with goblins, and according to her, the castle residents are not very good hosts. What do? Escort her out, hide her and move on. Send her on her way. Chain her back up for now. Well, if we start causing trouble, these priests aren't going to have time to do to her whatever they do to the people they've been taking from this room. So we could just chain her back up for now. But I also don't like the idea of leaving her in the open where they could just come back and take her, because they might take her to move her once we are there causing trouble. And hiding her, even if they found her hiding place, that would simply have the same result as not hiding her and chaining her up, because they probably wouldn't just kill her on the spot. They would take her to wherever they've been taking the other people if they find her hiding. Definitely not escort her out. Where could she go? Certainly not send her on her way. Where could she go? The only two real options here are to hide her and chain her back up. And I think we are going to hide her and move on. Morale increases 1. Actually, I do believe that morale affects our score at the end. So we're always looking to build as much of that as possible. There are a ton of hiding places in this ruin. You find a nice pile of rubble for her to hide behind a few rooms away. You tell her to keep quiet and that you'll come back for her. Stay still and quiet here. We will return. Well, if we do not return by morning, escape as best you can. You instruct her. That's another thing. I didn't want to leave her chained up, because if we die, then she's right back where she started. At least here, if we die, she is free and just hidden, and she might be able to make the choice or find the opportunity to run on her own. Clever, Reginald says as you leave her. If the priests find Ziba missing, they will not expect her to remain in the castle. With luck, they will leave the castle altogether to find her. And we can explore unhindered, you say with a smile. The castle is quiet and dark. You walk into a wide hallway that branches in 2 directions. One direction is covered in a thick layer of dust, while the other is covered in footprints. You decide that it would be wise to get a lay of the land before looking for any trouble. Despite the faint smell of rotting flesh from the dusty hall, you decide that it would be wise to go this way first. Less monsters, more treasure, or at least you hope. You have kept your lantern hooded, only allowing slivers of light out. After all, you want to remain stealthy. The way is dim, however, and you find yourself tripping over rubble and the odd piece of furniture. Ahead, there is the stench of rot, making you wonder if there might be something terrible hidden in the shadows. Too bad you can't see in the dark like a goblin. What do? Keep the lantern hooded so that we stay stealthy but unaware, or unhood the lantern so we can see and be seen clearly. We can always rehood the lantern, I suppose, but it seems like the best option here is to see where we're going, unless we fall into a spike trap that is filled with bodies, and maybe that's what we're smelling, or, fall across some other booby trap that has bodies in it. It's not necessarily just going to be goblins and ogres that smell bad. There's probably just corpses of people that died, and if people have died here, I would like to see why, so that I can avoid it myself. And if we need to, if something does see us because we unhood the lantern, then now we unhood the lantern and we can see so that we can defend ourselves. I just don't see any good outcome from continuing walking while barely being able to see. Unhood the lantern. Morale increases by 1. Since you appear to be entering a vacant part of the castle, you expect your light will not attract enemy attention, and so you unhood your lantern to see your way clearly. As you move along, the cobwebs thicken and thicken. Oh God, I don't like this. Spider! Reginald yelps. He points his sword up at the ceiling. There is an enormous spider suspended by a mass of webs. There are dark shadows deep within the webs that might be cocoons. Oh God. Yeah, we're going to move on from that picture very quickly. Gods, it is massive, hisses Reginald. Perhaps we should turn back. This part of the castle is obviously forsaken by the residents and therefore a safe place for us, you say. Safe, whispers Reginald. Do you see that thing? You have surprise, and your aim is true, my friend, you say, patting your hand on Reginald's shoulder. Reginald is silent for a moment and then says, One shot is all I have. Be ready with your death-dealing spells. You remove your hand from Reginald's shoulder and prepare yourself to launch a firebolt. With trembling fingers, Reginald sheathes his sword and unslings his bow. He takes in a big breath as he fits an arrow, draws back the string, and fires. The spider flails its long legs for a moment and then drops out of the web onto the floor with a thud. Reginald slings his bow and draws his sword as he charges. He then commences hacking the spider to pieces. Once you're certain the monstrous spider is truly dead, the two of you move on, taking extra care to watch the ceiling. I hear you. That's an ordeal. I would have failed that. I would have shot it with the arrow. It falls. I would then squealed like a child, pulled out my sword, and stood there pointing at it. I don't think that I would have approached it to cut it up. I have goosebumps just saying those words. And I'm going to stop talking about it and move on, because those things freak me out. I deal with them in real life. I have captured spiders for the sake of friends to release them. I refuse to kill them. I refuse to kill most insects, but I don't like the spiders, but I won't kill them. So I have caught some big ones. I caught I think the biggest I've ever had to catch is a wolf spider that we had in my mother's bedroom. But yeah, it may as well have been the size of a car. That is the same level of terror that I had facing it. So I understand what they just went through. Eventually, the two of you make your way to a spiral staircase going up. The upper regions of foul places like this are safer than the lower levels, says Reginald. Why in Neville's tongue would that be? You say. Reginald shrugs. Do not ask me what is in the mind of fiends and evil-hearted beasts. Perhaps they prefer the darkness and stagnant air below ground. You look up the stairway and sigh. Well, perhaps we can get a view of the courtyard and the goblins from up there. Reginald leads the way up the stairs, which lead into a small tower. Moonlight filters in through two windows. This room is finely furnished and otherwise much more nicely kept than the rest of the castle you visited so far. There is a small bed, still made, on one end, an ornate table, and a bookshelf. On the table is an open fairy tale book and a gold-embossed hand mirror. Seeing loot, you forget about the windows and the potential view of the courtyard. You pick up the mirror to inspect it. Strange, says Reginald. There's no dust up here. And do you feel a draft? Well, we are in a ruin, you say. Of course there's a draft. The glass in the windows are still intact, mutters Reginald. Gazing at your reflection in the mirror, you decide you look pretty good, all things considered. You brush cobwebs from your wavy brown hair. You smile. You're happy to see that your teeth are looking particularly good. Of course, you deserve nice teeth, since unlike most people you know, you take care of them. Every morning you wipe your teeth with a cloth dipped into a cleaning concoction consisting of vinegar, salt, a little sand, and a small measure of your own urine. Excellent. You are about to pull yourself away from the mirror and put it in your backpack when you glimpse. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, that's, that was, okay. Moving on. You're about to pull yourself away from the mirror and put it in your backpack when you glimpse a translucent skull with thin, wispy hair just behind you in the reflection. You spin around and see not a skull, but a young girl floating a few feet in the air, her pale face fixed on you. Reginald sees her too, as evidenced by him running down the stairway. All right, Reggie. You know what? You do you, man. I hear you. You're on the right. got your priorities straight. How dare you touch what is mine? The ghostly girl shouts. You back up and reflexively put the mirror back on the table. You have heard tales of powerful ghosts that can suck the life right out of you, and wonder if this girl is one of those. What do you do? Run for the stairs? Protection from evil spell? Or apologize? Oh man, I don't think she's evil. Should I apologize or just run? I mean, I feel like maybe I'd be wasting time by apologizing. These ghosts aren't going to hear you. They just see you taking stuff and they're like mad mode. We're going to catch up with Reggie and run for the stairs. I really don't want to use mana. So the mana only resets after a rest, which is basically the chapter. So after the next, or I guess they're calling it books, but in the next book. So those are the only two ways I can reset mana, is to take a rest or finish the book. I don't know, is the next time I have the opportunity to rest, considering we're not in a safe place. So, oh man, I really want to push that apologize button, but I feel like that would be so stupid. Alright, we're gonna run for the stairs to catch up with Reggie. Oh man, but apologize is like right there. Run for the stairs. Oh my god. Okay, run for the stairs. Okay, here's the thing. If I run for the stairs, I feel like I'm going to regret not pushing the apologize button, and I'm not sure if I can live with that. But if I push the apologize button and it's stupid, yeah, I won't regret that at all. And I always can use luck to come back. We're going to just apologize. Achievement unlocked. Manners matter. Your mother taught you well. We have 2 more luck and 1 more point. Oh, she actually talks back. Okay. I apologize, my lady, you say. It is only that this is such a fine mirror and I wish to admire it. She glares at you for a moment, and then the hard expression on her translucent face softens. I am the Duchess Inverness. My father, the Duke, gave me that as a gift. You heard stories of Duke Inverness and the mysterious circumstances around the demise of his house. Despite your fear, you feel a pang of sadness for his daughter, who now shimmers before you, trapped in this world. And these books, they look like excellent stories in here, you stammer. Read that one to me, the girl commands. Of course, my lady, you answer. Luckily for you, as a wizard, you know how to read. You pick up the book of fairy tales from the desk and begin on the first page. She stops you and demands that you read her the story about the unicorn. With trembling hands, you page through the book. Eventually, you find this story and begin reading. The ghost floats up behind you as though to peer down at the pictures. You feel a slight chill on your shoulder. Sometime later, you look up from her book and see Reginald peeking around the corner of the stairway at you. You shake your head slightly at him and then return your attention to the book. Yeah, you just stay out there, bro. In the story, the unicorn taps her hoof against a wall in a castle, and a secret passage opens up. As you read this, the little girl smiles and says, "There is a secret passage in this castle as well. It is a foul place, a place where people are taken, never to return." Hey, she knows where those captives are taken, like Siba's family. Interesting. "Where is this secret passage you speak of?" you ask. "In my father's library. There's a statue. Push the arm of the statue down," she explains. You are intrigued by this and wish to ask her more, but she points at the book impatiently, so you get back to it. Upon finishing the story, the girl demands you read her another. You wonder how long she might keep this up. Time means nothing to her, after all. You would like to get back to Reginald. And what about Siba's father? Rescuing a merchant might mean a fine reward. And there's Siba herself, of course. You would like to find her before something else does. What do? Read another story? I feel like if we select read another story, that would just last forever. Attempt to excuse yourself or run for the stairs. I definitely don't want to run for the stairs because she's been so cordial to talk to us. And we saw that just being polite and apologizing before did get her to talk and calm down. I did read you the one story, but I can't read you stories forever. I'm going to attempt to excuse myself. Oh, gold increases 50. That's unexpected. Beautiful and gracious Duchess, might I ask your full name? You ask. Gabriella, Duchess Gabriella of Inverness, she answers. My lady, you bow. I beg your pardon, but there is a young woman in the castle below who requires my assistance. There are evil men. I suspect they threaten her life. A maiden in distress? Why do you dally here then? Be gone. You need no further encouragement. You step lightly toward the door. Wait! Her voice chills you, but you unwillingly turn back. Take this, she says, and the gold-trimmed mirror floats off of the table over to you. I cannot see myself in it anymore, she says softly. Generosity befitting a duchess. I thank you most humbly. You bow low and then leave. You find Reginald around the corner of the stairs, his sword at the ready. He begins asking you questions, but you put up your hand. Another time, you say. Oh wow. She gave us her mirror because we spent time with her. And when we explained why we needed to leave, she was very agreeable to that. So I'm pleasantly surprised. Wow. Just really sad that she's still just a kid. I mean, yeah, she was angry, but she's clearly just lonely, and that sucks that she's stuck like that. Checkpoint reached. Good job. Oh, that's awesome. Alright, so now that I've reached the checkpoint, I know that I can just come back here. If I leave out, then it'll start right back up at this point. So, with that, I hope you enjoyed our little adventure. And if you're interested, just let me know in the comments that you want to see more of what happens with Siba and Reginald. I don't think our main character has a name. I mean, we haven't heard a name, I don't think, from Reginald. But if you're curious to see what happens with Siba and Reginald, let me know. But until then, I'm actually going to leave this here. And again, feel free to check out the app yourself. It's got some amazing stories on here, of a lot of different genres. Next video that I record, I'm going to be reading from the Rogue's Tale. But there's stories of like tomb raiding and of like dystopian frozen future wasteland, like a world after a zombie apocalypse from the perspective of this high schooler. There's a lot of stories, and I definitely encourage you to check it out for yourself. But if you like how I sound reading these stories and want to come back and join in for a little light banter and hearing where we go next, I welcome you to do that. And I will try to put up the next video within the next couple of days. Alright, well, with that, I appreciate you being here if you still are. And until next time, sleep well.